Hi, welcome to our webinar. You have myself, Jazz, and my colleague Azim here today. We will be talking you through what to expect when you go to court as part of a Section 28 hearing. We are from Victim Support and we are from the pre-trial and witness service team. And just to explain a bit about what we do here at Victim Support, we're an independent charity in England and Wales, and we provide support to victims and witnesses who have been affected by crime. And it is free and it is confidential as well. We also do work with the police and other parts of the criminal justice system to ensure that you are getting the right and relevant support that you require before you go to court. Just to cover what we're going to be going over today, I will be going over the Section 28 hearing, what happens when you arrive at court, the security and the witness service area as well. And then Adam will be going over the meeting the barristers, the video link room, and the courtroom overview as well to ensure that you guys gain an understanding of what's going to happen on the day that you go to give your Section 28 hearing. So just to explain a little about the Section 28 hearing. Section 28 allows vulnerable victims and witnesses of crime to record their evidence and cross-examination before a trial. So what this means is essentially when the trial comes, you then don't have to go again to give your evidence and feel re-traumatized or re-triggered by reliving that experience. The recording is carried out as close as they can to the time of the offense to make sure that you have all the right information remembered. And also, like I mentioned, it reduces the stress of you having to give your evidence at the actual trial because once you give your evidence at the Section 28 hearing, it is recorded and that gets played during the trial. You'll also be giving your evidence in a separate room from the court. And like mentioned, this will be recorded and played as well. So for a Section 28 hearing, most of the time it will be a Crown Court where the Section 28 hearing will take place. And the Crown Court normally has a jury who then go ahead to decide if the defendant is guilty or not after the trial. However, if you do give evidence by the Section 28 hearing, there will be no jury present during your time of giving evidence. But on the actual trial, the jury will then get played the evidence to watch your cross-examination. And then they will go ahead and decide the verdict after assessing all the evidence that was presented to them. Just to give a little bit of a rundown of the kind of cases that get heard at a Crown Court, they do include more serious crimes such as murder, rape, robbery, GBH. So these are the kind of offences that can be heard at a Crown Court. Once you've been told that you're having a Section 28 hearing, your officer in charge of the case or your witness care officer or your police point of contact will let you know the day and time of the Section 28 hearing. If you would like a visit beforehand to get familiar with the court process, then we would be able to arrange that for you upon making contact with you. But when you do go to court for your hearing, you'll be met by security at the entrance, and that is where they will check your bags. They'll do a security check to ensure you're safe, and they're also keeping everybody else safe as well. If you have any liquids like a water bottle or a juice or anything like that, they'll ask you to open it and take a sip of it. If you've got anything in a glass bottle, like a perfume or anything rather relatively large, like an umbrella, that can be taken off you sometimes, but they'll give you a receipt for you to collect it and take it back when you're leaving the court. Just remember to take the receipt with you to security and collect your item. You can also use the separate entrance to enter and exit the court. This can be granted for vulnerable and intimidated witnesses who don't want to bump into the defendant or any acquaintances of the defendant whilst checking in through the main entrance. However, this request does need to be sent to the court and it is only confirmed when the court grants it. And once they have granted it, that means you'll be able to use a separate entrance and you won't have to worry too much about bumping into people you don't want to see. But once you have gone through the security checks, you will be taken to the witness service waiting rooms, either by a member of the security or by somebody from the witness service team. They will come and collect you from the security area and take you to the witness waiting room. And when you are there in the witness service waiting area, the witness service team will be around you. If you have any questions, or if you would like any extra support, they'll be there if you need any support. And that's also where they talk to you about filling out an expenses form. They might give you a paper form for you to fill out to claim back any expenses, or they might give you a QR code for you to scan and visit online to claim back any costs of driving, public transport, or loss of earnings. But don't worry about which live link room you need to go to when it is your turn to give your evidence. You're not expected to just wander off by yourself. The witness service team is there to look after you, and a member of the court will take you to the correct room when it's your turn for you to start giving your evidence. Just to touch a bit on about delays, there can be some delays at court. So if you would like, please do bring food, drink, snacks, even a book, your phone, laptop, anything to just keep yourself occupied whilst you're waiting there. And also, there will be other witnesses in the same area as you, as the Crown Courts can be quite big and they do run multiple trials throughout the day. Or even if you come with any friends or family who are there to support you, it's very important that you don't discuss your statement or any case details with anyone before you give evidence, as this can put risk to the hearing and the overall trial as well. So I'm going to pass it over to my colleague Azim now, and Azim is going to talk you through what happens when the prosecution barrister comes to meet you in the witness service waiting area.
Thanks, Jazz. Hi. So basically, while you're in that witness waiting area, you will be met by your barrister, the prosecution barrister, and the defense barrister as well, and possibly the judge, just to put a human face on what is going on so you can meet them beforehand. So when it's time, what will have happened is before you give your evidence, there would have been something called a ground rules hearing. And what that means is the judge and your barrister and the barrister for the defendant would have sat down and worked out what areas they're going to be looking at in the questioning, and also how those questions are going to be asked. So before you attend your Section 28 hearing, you would have arranged with your officer in charge of your case to actually sit down and review the initial evidence you gave by video evidence, so you can have a refresher around that. So once you've met them in the witness waiting area, this will usually be sort of like 15, 20 minutes before you're due to give the evidence by recorded video. So once that's taken place, you'll be taken to the live link video room. So the video link room is different in different courts. They're usually not huge, but big enough to house the television screen with the camera. There will be a chair sitting in front of that television screen that you will be sitting on. And there will be a limited amount of people that will be in that room with you. So there will be you, there will be the court usher that takes you into that room, and you can possibly also have a member of witness service to just sit behind you for a bit of support. And anyone else that came along for support will be waiting for you in the witness waiting area. So once you're seated, good idea to get an idea of who will be in the courtroom at the time. So when the screen comes on, what you will see is you will see the judge sitting behind their bench. So obviously they will be overlooking the whole proceedings to make sure that everything's done fairly in accordance with British law, and importantly, in line with those ground rules hearing that took place also. So you will also see the two barristers, one in front of the other. So your barrister will be closest, and then the barrister for the defence will be behind. But what will happen is when you're being asked questions, the camera will zoom in onto whoever is speaking to you at that time, so that you know exactly who it is and what's being asked. So there will be maybe the police officers and other people sitting in the courtroom, but your view will not encompass that. It will just be for the important people at that time who are going to be asking you questions. So the defendant will also be in a dock, in a glass-fronted dock in that courtroom, but you would not be able to see them when you're sort of giving your evidence through that video link. So once you've been settled in that video link room, before the proceedings can start, you will need to be sworn in. And what that means is the court usher, who sort of accompanies you into that room, will ask you if you have a religion at all or not. And depending on your answer, they'll either have a religious text of your choice and a corresponding card to read from, or it will just be an affirmation card that says, I do solemnly and sincerely swear that the evidence I give today shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So if you have any reading difficulties or anything like that, the court usher can say a line to you, and then you repeat that line out loud. So once that's taken place, your barrister may just introduce the proceedings, but when it comes to the questioning, that will be the barrister for the defence. So the camera will zoom in onto their face, they will introduce themselves again, and they will just ask you questions based on that statement, that video evidence that you originally gave. So take it as given when you're being asked these questions, they are asking questions on behalf of their client, the defendant. So, you know, questions could be tough. You're probably not going to like the questions that you're asked, but they will be asked in a certain way. So they're trained to ask questions in a certain way. And remember as well, there were some rules put in place as to how they ask these questions, what questions will be asked. So just to give a generalized version using some other sort of form, the barrister will step up, introduce themselves, and they say, so I have a few questions for you today. And my first question is, you say in the morning in question that the defendant had Weetabix for breakfast. Is that correct? And you'll state your answer. Let's say, are you sure that that's correct? Because the defendant says they didn't have any breakfast at all that morning. Are you mistaken, or are you possibly lying? You stand by what you've said. So just remember not to take it personally when they're asking you these questions. They are just doing their job. They're not friends with the defendant. So, you know, the questioning may seem tough, but also remember, if at any point they keep labouring a point, going over the same question again and again, or move outside of what was agreed to be asked, your barrister will step in and object. But I've got a feeling the judge will step in and object first of all. So they will be making sure that everything is done fairly for you. So, you know, during this time, they will be referring you as to you as a witness or a complainant, not as a victim, because the case is still in court and the defendant hasn't been found guilty yet. So when you're being asked questions, so it's very important that if there's something you cannot remember, don't feel pressured that you have to say something and start guessing. Okay? Just say what you know. We're all only human. You're just there to say what you know. Okay, so if you don't remember something, it's quite fine to just say, I'm really sorry, I don't recall that. The whole exercise is not a memory test. It's just for you to have your chance to give your evidence. Now, questioning can be tough, some people. So if you feel at any point that you need a break, you're entitled to ask if you can have a bit of a rest. The camera will be shut down and you will have a chance to compose yourself. Again, if you need any water, for a glass of water or tissues or anything, you have every right to ask that. So at any point towards the during the proceedings, once questions have been asked, the judge may ask for clarification on points as well for their own records. So once the defence has asked you their questions, your barrister can then step in and redirect and ask some questions to counter any of the answers that came out of the defence's question. So it might just be as simple as clearing up a point or anything like that, or anything you might have got confused about, just to clarify that. So up to that point, if the judge doesn't have any other questions for you either, the proceedings will be concluded, the camera will shut down, the TV screen will go blue or whatever, and you'll be free to leave that witness room and free to go home. And then what will happen is that evidence that's been recorded will be shown to the jury at the trial that you do not have to attend. And that will go towards the evidence for the jury to come up with a verdict at that trial. And obviously you will be notified what the result of that trial was. And with a guilty verdict, once sentencing has taken place, you will be notified what that sentence was as well by the officer in charge of your case or your witness care officer. I hope that was helpful. And if there's any more support that you need or any other information, please do visit the Victim Support website at www.londonbws.org.uk. Thank you.
Thank you for listening.